Now, pathways ahead. So what are some things we can do? I'm actually really optimistic. I'm optimistic we can do better. I'm optimistic that there are ideas that we can pursue and leverage. First, one thing that's important is conversations like this about poverty are important because it helps us challenge the stereotypes that others might have about poverty, maybe challenge some of our own priors, and help us have accurate understandings of the problems confronting us. Because if we don't have good data, if we don't have good information, we're actually not going to solve anything very effectively. Having said that, we need better data. We need new voices. Part of the contribution of this work is your voices are being heard by scholars and policymakers in a way that they weren't before. And better translation to policy, and that's my job. I have to think about how I can share what I know in a way that helps people think about consequences and next steps. We need to support our existing public programs. This is not a time to be cutting public assistance programs, particularly that support families that we know are proven poverty reduction programs. We need to make the case for greater private giving and volunteerism in our communities. You do this work every day. It's hard, and we need to leverage more effort in this area. We need to tap into our communities of faith. This is a critical piece. Communities of faith and faith-based organizations are the most trusted organizations and entities in their communities. They're the places that people go to first when they're in need. They're the places that bring in volunteers and donors, motivated out of faith and other concerns, and they're critical partners. It's hard to be successful at fighting poverty if you aren't working with communities of faith and realizing the important contributions they make. We also have to prepare the next generation of leaders. As you know, many of our community-based organizations have kind of succession and leadership challenges as leaders that have been in place for 20 or 30 years are retiring. And there's not necessarily a generation of leaders, indigenous leaders, that understand the needs and diversity of our current communities. It's not clear that those leaders are being trained and prepared, and we need to think about those challenges. And then we need to find small collaborations on which to build. I think I took this lesson from Lake County the most through the work of the foundation and your organizations, starting small and expanding out, building on successes, building partnerships, finding what works. And then finally, as Maya mentioned, we have to choose a shared faith. I say this when I speak in urban settings because people in cities like to, now that cities are doing better, like to, talk trash about suburbs. And we have to recognize that we have a shared faith. Suburbs were created to be places of exclusion often. And increasingly, there are places that have to grapple with greater inclusion. And we aren't going to solve our poverty problems by pitting cities against suburbs, by pitting communities against each other. We won't solve poverty problems in a given place if we don't see the shared faith in addressing hardship and poverty in all places. And with that, thank you.